This is former TNA World Champion Raven, and you're listening to TNA Cross the Line podcast. Quote the Raven, nevermore. And don't cross the line. Or do cross the line. I'm not really sure if you're supposed to, you're not supposed to. I don't know. Whatever. You get it.
TNA Wrestling. Cross the line.
And we're back with episode 169 of the TNA Cross the Line podcast. I am Colling Jr. and with me, as always, is Dallas Gridley. And Dallas, we are coming off of Lockdown 2005, where every match was inside the 6 sides of steel for the first time ever. And coming out of that show, probably the biggest news of all, is that we have a number 1 contender for the NWA World title at Hard Justice. That's right. That's the next pay-per-view. Hard Justice. May 15th. The NWA World Champion. If he is in fact champion on May 15th. You never know. Jeff Jarrett will be defending against AJ Styles. That's right. AJ Styles defeating Abyss in the main event at Lockdown 2005 to now get the opportunity for a title match against Jeff Jarrett at Hard Justice. Dallas, how are we feeling about AJ Styles? How are you feeling about the buzz after Lockdown? I haven't talked to you in weeks because you've just been in hiding, trying to recover from such the high. And considering you're straight edge, boy, it hit you hard.
Yeah, man, I'm coming down real hard after Lockdown. I mean, does it get better than this? No, it probably does. But
yeah, probably.
I think actually is going to get better. We got a lot of exciting stuff in our future. But it's funny that you say the biggest thing is we have a number 1 contender because we didn't have a title match. So, I mean, it's a fair point. I thought Lockdown was awesome. I thought it was really exciting. It was just as good as I remember it. And we have a lot to talk about it because, as normal on our post-pay-per-view shows, we're going to read through Dave's breakdowns and talk about his star ratings for the matches as well. So I'm really excited to kind of get into it. So we're not going to do a rundown of the card first because there's kind of not really a point. But yeah, Lockdown was great. A lot of big stuff happened out of it. And there's some unfortunate news post Lockdown as well, which we'll be covering in the next few weeks between today and next episode. And then there's just lots of stuff going on here in Impact here in 2005. So, yeah, man. Post-lockdown, Hard Justice is just 3 weeks away.
Yeah, I was I kind of wasn't expecting it to be so quick.
Yeah, it's kind of a really weird thing. And, of course, we're still doing that 3 tapings at once situation. So there's literally 1 taping and then a pay-per-view. I mean, it's pretty crazy. So I guess we'll kind of see how that goes as we move forward. But I guess without further ado, we can kind of get right into breaking down Lockdown. We have a bunch of stuff to cover. And it's going to be good. So let's do it. So Dave Meltzer here. He's got a couple little write-ups before the whole breakdown here. So the Lockdown show featuring 8 cage matches with stipulations built stipulations. So obviously we had like tables matches, blindfold matches. I mean, we really did it all inside of the cages here. So on April 24th, it drew a packed crowd of 775 fans with several hundred more turned away at the Universal theme park in Orlando. So we're still doing free admissions for pay-per-views, and we're turning tons of people away. So it's pretty interesting. Based on our response level, it appears that there was another drop in pay-per-view orders coming off the heels of last month's drop, which makes sense as they had no compelling issue, and from a competition standpoint, it was late in a month where most wrestling fans would have seen enough big shows and spent a lot of money on pay-per-view already. So, fair enough. And actually, that is a great point to then bring up the part that I like to do first usually, which is the poll results that he does. So, Bob, you and I both gave the show a thumbs up. What do you think that the readers of The Observer thought about Lockdown 2005?
They're going to give it a thumbs up.
Yeah, they did. 74.5% gave it a thumbs up. Only 3.6% gave it a thumbs down, and 21.8% were in the middle. Now, the numbers were a little bit lower than normal. So just for your reference point here, 82 people gave it a thumbs up, 4 were down, and 24 were in the middle. So definitely a little bit lower than the past ones. I mean, I'm trying to look back. Well, Destination X was kind of low too, though. But see, like, Against All Odds had, like, over 150. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting. But
Against All, so in terms of response, you said?
yeah, the amount of people.
So Against All Odds, that was Jarrett and Nash, right?
Right.
So maybe that kind of shows you their the drawing.
Could be. Yeah. So on the I'm scrolled up too far. The best match of the show. I know we didn't run it down that quick, but Bob, you remember everything that we watched. So what do you think was voted on as the best match of Lockdown?
Probably AJ and Abyss, right?
Yes, it was. And it tied in second place. So, and by like significantly less people, was Christopher Daniels and Elix Skipper, and then also the X Division Escape match, which was the Michael Shane Shocker, Chris Sabin, and Sonjay Dutt match. Now, more interesting, what was voted on as the worst match?
Let me. You say I remember everything, and I don't. Okay, the worst match. I will say they went with Dustin and Bobby.
Yeah, they did. And then in second was that Lethal Lockdown match, which I think is, I mean, I guess, I don't know, looking at the card, I don't know. I guess there wasn't like, that match was okay. Like, Lethal Lockdown was okay.
Yeah, I mean, Lethal Lockdown was what you would kind of just expect it to be.
Yeah.
Maybe people would wonder, oh, how come it wouldn't be the opening match? I would assume people knew the tragedy involving Candido, right? Or like at least that he was at least seriously hurt at that point.
Yeah, they're gonna know he's at least hurt at this point. So, and we'll be getting, like I said, much into that too.
Yeah.
So I would assume they think he's gonna be hurt, which we're actually going to talk about in just a second as well, because it's pretty interesting to hear how it was reported then versus what we know now, and blah blah blah. So we'll talk about that more as we continue the next 2 weeks here. So continuing on with his write-up here, he says the ODing on stipulations was a problem, as several matches would have been better had they not been in a cage. Still, most matches were good, and they smartly put Styles and Abyss on last, and they tore the house down. Had they put on the so-called real headliners in the 6-man on last, the show would have not been nearly as well received. I think that's a really great point. It was not the caliber of the 3 excellent pay-per-views TNA put on from December through February, but was only a notch below. And Dave says he's got to say TNA for the past several months is greatly outperforming WWE on a big stage, on a big show stage. So pretty high remarks here as far as pay-per-views.
Okay.
I knew you'd like that one.
I mean, come on, guys.
These are good pay-per-views.
Okay, but like, haven't we already talked about like WrestleMania 21? That alone is probably better than anything that TNA has put on.
You know, I don't know if I agree with that, but I mean, it's WrestleMania.
Come on, WrestleMania. We looked at the card for WrestleMania 21.
Yes, we
did. Were like, oh boy.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, I know. I mean, compared to what was it? Destination X was like the March show.
Yeah.
I don't know. Hard to say. Hard to say
Yeah, I don't
Destination
know,
X or WrestleMania.
I don't know, man. Kevin Nash and the Outlaw in a first blood match. Might want to check that out over Money in the Bank. First one ever.
Hey, in hindsight, maybe maybe at the time it was like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, Chris Candido. So we're in the early stuff of this, though. He subbed for the opener for Kid Cash. In the opening match, he suffered a broken leg, as we know. Sonny Siaki threw a drop kick to Candido, and somehow the two got tangled up, with Siaki landing badly and Candido breaking both his tibia and fibula, as well as dislocating his ankle. He had 2 plates and 8 screws inserted into his leg. Now, the plan at this point, of course, is for him to work here as a manager, as well as taking Shane Douglas's spot as co-host of Explosion while mending. Candido was counting on 2 major paydays on June 10th and June 12th for the ECW theme shows, and is actually targeting being back in the ring for that point, although that certainly sounds like he'd be pushing it.
Are you pushing it? There's no way.
So he wants to be back in the ring in less than 2 months.
He dislocated his ankle and he broke, like he snapped.
He broke both bones in the bottom part of his leg.
There's no way.
Yeah, it's pretty
There's
crazy.
no way.
And we talked about it during the show as well, and we will continue to talk about it. But it's interesting how they word it here, that Siaki landed bad and they got tangled up and stuff. And rewatching it, it's kind of just a freak accident. What happens? His foot kind of gets caught underneath itself, and he kind of Candido falls on it. Siaki doesn't land on him. Also, Bob, side note, we were gonna at the end of the show see if it was cut out or if we just missed it, and I think we just missed it.
Really? Because it was in there?
It was in our version as well, so I think we just totally missed it.
We absolutely did. Yeah.
Because then they showed the replay later in the show, and it was still there. So
slow motion, by the way.
Yeah, it sure was. Good stuff. So that's kind of where the Candido stuff lands right now, and I think there might be another small note about it here, but we will obviously be talking more about the situation. Probably, I think, more on today's episode, but especially on our next episode. Now, regarding Kevin Nash, earlier in the show, he shows a staph infection, blah, blah. So, after establishing a pretty good track record up until this point about being honest with his fans, they really played the con man card badly on this show. He says the funny thing is, it wasn't even playing a card that meant any business because Nash wasn't a focal drawing point of the show. He has actually been suffering from this staph infection on his lower leg since getting it cut when the Outlaw was working it over at Destination X on March 13th. So that's where that started, which is unfortunate. Now, during the week, he gave word that he wasn't going to wrestle on the show. The company did, on its website, list that and said Dusty Rhodes would make an announcement as to his replacement the day of the show. However, on the pregame show, they acknowledged the injury, but wouldn't say whether Nash would appear, but made it a question. Now, in pro wrestling, you are conditioned to believe the babyface always fights if it's a question. Then, several minutes into the pay-per-view, they announced Nash wouldn't be wrestling and showed him lifting up the Band-Aid to show his infection. Now, while it was legit, it looked like so much of nothing compared to injuries guys routinely go into the ring with. This is what Dave is saying.
Right.
Staph infections are very serious, for the record. But Conan had a worse staph infection that he hasn't fully recovered from and has worked a month straight on. That's what Dave says. Now, this is not to say that Nash should have worked, but that the company should have announced it on the pregame show. Part of the decision is Nash just signed up to do a movie role and is leaving for China for 6 weeks of filming, so he will be off the next pay-per-view and the next few TV tapings as well. So, we're probably not seeing Nash for a while.
It's for a movie?
Yeah, for some movie. I don't know what movie it is.
So, yeah, depending on his role, I mean, he could be gone for like 3 months.
Yeah. Especially the way their taping schedule is. I mean, we could...
Oh, yeah, his taping schedule, the way that 3 weeks is or one taping is 3 weeks. I mean, he could be gone 4 or 5 months, really.
Which is kind of lame that it's just like, oh, I got a staph infection. And, like, that's not why we're not seeing him. They couldn't even, like, get a chance to write him off or anything.
Right.
But yeah, it's unfortunate. But okay, so it's time to break down some of the show here. Of course, I'm not reading every single giant paragraph he writes about this, but I pulled out some of the good stuff, and of course, the match ratings here as well. So Conan and so this is the pre-show match, which we mentioned, but we did not watch, unfortunately. So Conan and Ron Killings won a 3-way over Lex Levette and David Young and the Naturals in 6 minutes 34 seconds. And Dave has a funny note about Conan doing the shoe spot, which Bob loves, which he says is becoming the TNA version of Mr. Sacco. Now, if he says this, here, this is why it's pretty funny stuff. So he says a few weeks ago he threw a shoe at his opponent on TV, and now since that time people chant "shoe" at him and hold up their own shoe when he comes out. So his basic contribution is to throw his shoe at his opponent or the referee. And apparently the spot comes from Puerto Rico, where Conan did it an impromptu when he was tagging with Killings. And so he thought that it was something fun, silly that he could get away with in Puerto Rico and would never fly in the U.S. And basically Killings apparently has been begging him to do it, saying that it'd get over big, and he did it once, and it's getting over big. So,
Okay. Comparing it, though, to Mr. Sacco and WWE is kind of...
I know. I think it's like the fans chanting for it is kind of what he's referencing there. But
there's a difference between like 775 fans chanting for it and then an arena of like 20,000 people going nuts for a sock.
I mean, you were not wrong.
It's a little different. And it's the same 775 people.
Yeah, probably. Most of the time.
A good portion of it.
Right. Okay, so then he says, now when he says this finish here, remember that this is only the pre-show match, okay? So, but Quartermain came out with a chair. Levette held Killings, and then Conan tripped Young, who fell on the chair. Killings gave Quartermain an axe kick on the chair, and then Quartermain juiced. So it says, yes, an all-cage match show, and you've got juice on the pre-show. Killings pinned Levette after a pedigree. He says it was good for what it was, 2 1/4 stars.
Okay, but in the defense of Quartermain, who's watching the pre-show? I mean, we didn't because we couldn't.
Well, right. So that's the funny part is like on the pre-show they're even doing it.
Well, so here's the thing too about pre-shows. That would air like free on the pay-per-view
right
channel.
Preview channel, right?
As we've talked, as the lead into the actual thing.
Mm-hmm.
Which now, mind you, at this point in time, I am all about TNA. Like I'm in like TNA. I'm watching Impact every week. Obviously, now here, 18 years later, I don't remember each episode, and we're going to be getting to a point here where I absolutely did not watch it because I didn't know how to find it. But I never even thought about watching the pay-per-view pre-show.
Yeah, I don't know if
so,
I either.
Yeah, for like Lockdown, I'm not thinking, oh, hey, there's a half-hour free pre-show I could watch.
Right.
On demand or in demand. Never even thought about it. And if I had known that there was maybe a match to watch, I might have done it, like what Sunday Night Heat was on MTV or USA or whichever.
Right.
But yeah, I never even thought about it.
You really messed up, Bob. Could have seen Quartermain bloody on the pre-show.
Yeah, I mean, I get what he's saying. Like, oh, hey, there's blood on the first match, like on the pre-show or whatever. But like, Dave likes to compare UFC with WWE or whatever. Like, would there be the same argument? And I understand MMA's, UFC's real combat sport. But I don't ever see people go, oh man, there was blood every fight.
Right. Yeah, that's the point.
Are we looking at it too critically in terms of like the art of wrestling, where it's like, oh, every match can't have blood? Why not? Realistically, every match in professional wrestling, someone should be bleeding. If I punch you in the forehead 11 times straight in the corner or in the face, you're bleeding.
Right. Yeah.
But in wrestling, they don't, because they're not, forced like doing it as much as they could.
Right.
So I think it's a little silly, but oh, hey, there's blood on it. Of course, there should be.
Yeah.
If you want to be realistic, and the guy's getting hit with a steel chair, why not? Like, why wouldn't you?
That's true.
It makes no sense to me.
It's true. Well, good for Quartermain for giving us what we want.
Yeah, for keeping the realism alive.
That's right. Thank you, Buck Quartermain. The opening contest was Apollo and Sonny Siaki defeating Candido and Lance Hoyt in 6 minutes 53 seconds. Of course, as Dave notes here, this match had some issues. Of course, Candido breaking his leg was the main one. This happened less than a minute in, and in addition, they decided to station a cameraman inside the ring and cage during the match for close-ups. The crowd also chanted, "We want Cash," who was just fired earlier in the week. Of course, they took the cameraman out after this first match because they realized, well, that's stupid. Now, he mentions that they instead had to cut a hole in the cage for the cameras, but I don't think they did that on the show. I think it was probably already there, but I'd have to go back and look, I suppose. Like the hole in the cage that they put it was like, he makes it sound like they cut it after they realized the cameraman wasn't in the ring was a bad idea, but I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
No. Candido was taken to the back, and it wasn't until later in the show that the clip aired of the bad-looking injury. This ultimately put Hoyt as a 1-on-2, which isn't good psychology. Now, luckily, the plan going in was to turn Hoyt anyways. Candido was originally supposed to lose the fall, blame Hoyt, and Candido and the Naturals would beat down on him. Also, to get Hoyt over, they did a nice-looking moonsault on Siaki. So that's kind of why they pulled that one out. Siaki climbed... So, in the match, Siaki climbed up as Hoyt was going to do a second moonsault, and then he nailed him with a German suplex off the top rope back into the ring. Siaki pinned Hoyt after a splash off the top rope. Naturals did the post-match beatdown, complete with the Natural Disaster finisher, and then blaming him for losing. 1.5 stars. Then next up, we had Dustin Rhodes defeating Bobby Roode in the 2 out of 3 falls in 15 minutes and 15 seconds. Now, apparently the rules changed the day of the show to it being best 2 out of 3 in the cage, but only the third fall, if needed, which of course it was going to be, would be under the blindfold rules. Now, the idea is that if people crapped on the outdated stipulation, then they would at least have done a decent match first. Roode ended up getting the first fall within 50 seconds with his feet on the rope so quickly that if you blinked, you would have missed it. Rhodes won the second fall at the 11-minute mark with a bulldog off the middle rope. They went to the blindfolds at this point. Referee Rudy Charles was bumped, so Scott D'Amore threw a chair over the top of the cage to Roode. Roode got the chair, but he couldn't see. He ended up hitting D'Amore and trying to pin him. Rhodes then got the chair, and Cassidy Riley came out and instructed him where Roode was. Dave says, "I know it makes no sense. He hit him perfectly, but he did, and he got the pin." He says it was bad, 1.25 star. He's right, it's bad, period.
Oh, maybe it was.
Yeah, Shocker won the 4-way over Michael Shane, Sonjay Dutt, and Chris Sabin in 15 minutes, 35 seconds. The rules here were that the first 2 guys would be eliminated via pinfall and submission. With 2 guys left, it would become whoever gets out of the cage first, and then you're the number 1 contender for the X Division title. Trinity now manages Michael Shane, just as Shane Tracy breakup was never explained, nor was Kazarian ever leaving acknowledged by a few. There was no apparent reason for Shane to be out there other than to give him a really hot spot to do. Crowd was quiet, but Dutt was doing all kinds of good moves. I skipped that a little bit, blah, blah, blah. Trinity did the moonsault off the top of the cage onto all 3 guys. Pretty exciting stuff. As they were hanging on at the end here, so Sabin and Shocker were the last 2. They were hanging on the top of the cage outside of it. Sabin rammed Shocker's head into the cage, causing him to let go. He fell down, and Sabin realized that he needed to let go. Since Shocker let go first, he landed first and won. But it was a creative finish if you're doing a world title match and want to screw job the heel over. But this match was supposed to get the winner over as a title challenger, which means a strong win is needed. Instead, it was a weak win, where a guy even worse backdoored into winning. Real good match, though. 3.5 stars.
I can understand that logic with what Dave is saying for the finish.
Yeah.
Doesn't really necessarily make Shocker strong, but yeah, I remember enjoying that. I enjoyed that match more than you did.
Yes, I think, yeah, you did. I mean, I think it was good, but it was just like, I felt like it was dragging on for me. Next up, we had Jeff Hardy defeating Raven in a match where about a dozen or so tables were involved in 14 minutes and 1 second.
What? Dozens?
Hey, no. He says about a dozen tables. There's
There's
not a
no
dozen.
way.
There was
There's
like
no way.
six. I think there's
Yeah,
six.
maybe. Yeah.
This is hilarious to me, so that's why I'm reading this. It was a fucking tables match, right? We all know how tables match works. He goes, rules were that one person had to put the other through a table to win. Could have just said it was a tables match.
Well, here's the thing. You know what? You got to write it as if the person reading it isn't a wrestling fan.
That's fair. That's fair. He doesn't say it's a tables match, though, which is the thing I thought was weird. But whatever. Raven, who was apparently, Dave says he was down to about 225 from his usual 256 because he had the flu and food poisoning. So he was like, apparently hadn't been training in weeks and lost a lot of weight because he was sick. I thought that was interesting because it's not something I guess I really pay attention to.
225. You know what that means?
He's a cruiserweight.
Cruiserweight.
X Division.
Well, X Division has no weight limit.
Well, yeah, but in our universe here.
But you know what? And I'll say it. For a title that has no limits, they have been pretty strict with it being guys that are like 200 pounds.
Usually it is. There is kind of a limit.
There's yet to really be a heavyweight to go for it. And I'm not going to consider Sonny Siaki a heavyweight when he was...
You're saying up until this point.
Right.
Yes.
Until right here in 2005.
I was going to say, because there's obviously a few. And then I think once they start to do it more often, people stink on it and they're like, ugh.
Yeah.
There's one in particular that I don't think we're going to cover that I was just like, why are we doing this? Well, what are we doing? Anyway, yeah, exactly. This match, I thought it was really great. It was a really fun match, and I remember this one very vividly as we were watching it, so I was very excited. So at the end of it, Hardy did a swanton off the cage, and they went through 4 tables, and they crumbled for the win. Dave says it was
a swanton or a leg drop.
That's a good point. I think it was actually a leg drop.
I think he did a leg drop.
He says it was a swanton, but I think you're right. I think it's a leg drop.
I think it's a leg drop, yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. He says it was much better than you'd have expected. He gives us 3.25 stars.
What? No, that's up 3.25. Give me a break.
But what does Bob give it?
Well, you know what? I think I would agree with what he gave for the 4-man escape, which was what, 3.5?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not going to say that Hardy and Raven was a quarter behind that. Okay, I'd probably say like 2 3/4 or 3 stars.
Oh, very specific.
Yeah. Well, not 2.5. 2.5 to me is like average. It was better. It was a fun little match.
Remind me when we do Hard Justice. Maybe we need to keep track of your star ratings as we watch it, and then we'll compare it on the next Impact of what you said versus what Dave Meltzer gives it. That'd be fun.
Yeah, well, because you know what? On Wrestling Recaps, I did not review the monthly pay-per-views, so I don't have that star rating there.
That's what I mean. Next up, it was Chris Harris and James Storm defeating Petey Williams and Eric Young to retain the NWA Tag Team titles in 15 minutes, 10 seconds. Dave says this was a good match, but it was loaded with gimmicks to where a straight wrestling match would have probably been tons better at this point in the show. Now, he says this is where the cage overload started. So we're 5 matches in, and he's finally done with cages. The finish, we pretty much the whole match, A1 was beating the shit out of Harris outside of the cage, who was not in the match. He was ringside, of course, and eventually gets in. So the finish saw A1 give Petey Williams powder, but Storm kicked the powder into his eyes. Petey Williams, not being able to see, gave Eric Young a low blow in the Canadian Destroyer, which I thought was hilarious. America's Most Wanted then used the death sentence on Williams, and Storm scored the pin. He gives this match 3.5 stars.
No way. There's no way. This is the same, or not? It wasn't Young and Petey, right? I think it was Young and Rude or something like that, where he gave them like the best match of 2005.
Yes.
I don't know.
He was like loving that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like what, Final Resolution 2, I think.
Possibly.
Yeah, no, I mean, to me, it's a fine match, but the strap, I think the strap is a poor stipulation. You know, and I can agree.
Yeah.
I can understand where he's saying with like, oh, you know, the cage match stipulation. I'm kind of burnt out with it because realistically, none of the matches to this point should have been in a cage.
I mean, yeah.
Because first, you know.
Well, if they're gonna do that, I could say if
The
they're gonna do
escape,
because that's like a very specific like stipulation with a cage, but.
Right, but like Dustin and Bobby, they have a stipulation
Nope.
that doesn't need it. And then you have Hardy and Raven, which has a stipulation within a stipulation. And then this one has a stipulation within a stipulation.
Yeah, and actually I forgot that this one was a strap match, so there's also that.
Yeah, so
they barely used the straps. I mean, it was kind of like an added like nothing. Like they added it for no reason.
Right. So that's like why I even bothered using it. Mm-hmm. So now, as you're about to know here, the final 3 matches are obviously are in the cage. Now, originally the show was 2 cages, 2
right.
Cage matches.
So we're not even at the point where it's supposed to be the 2 that were in the cage.
Right, but so like the next match that you're going to get into, Daniels and Skipper, I could have seen them just adding that one as a cage match too because of the history that they've had as a team inside of a cage. Then they could be like, what would it be like if it's just them in a cage, 1-on-1? You know, so you could go in the show being like not 2 but 3, and the third one's going to be this.
Right.
You didn't need to make every match a steel cage match. And now I say all this, and I've said it a million times. I am a sucker for cage matches. Okay, I'm a sucker for stipulations in general. Could be a pole match, whatever. I'm probably gonna
a pole match.
Yeah, Viagra on a pole. Sign me up, man. I'm watching that over Raw any day of the week.
Well,
but I will say this, okay? Every year, there are a few TNA pay-per-views in this era that I look forward to. One of which is their version of WrestleMania, which we know comes in October, and Lockdown, because it's all steel cages.
Yeah.
You know, Lethal Lockdown. I love war games. You know, and I feel like that was the fan that they were trying to obtain, was the fan that was a fan of WCW and war games and everything that was part of that company. So.
Right. No, that makes sense. Well, next up, another cage match. As Bob noted, Christopher Daniels defeated Elix Skipper in 15 minutes, 23 seconds to retain the X Division title. He says most of the match was Daniels working on Skipper's left shoulder and throwing it into the cage. So as the match went on, Skipper reversed the Angel's wings, and he went to hit that sudden death finisher, I believe. Daniels reversed it back into the Angel's wings and got the pin. Now, a lot of fans apparently left after this match. He said he's told that the belief was that live, that people come to see Daniels and Styles, but the fact that so many left before Styles' match on the show seemed to confirm that it's actually Daniels that a lot of people are trying to see, who is a babyface to the live crowd. Now, the people who stayed, the match they went nuts for was Styles' match, but we'll get to that. He gave this match 3 1/4 stars.
Okay, 3 1/4.
Mm-hmm.
See, I don't know if I'd go that high either. I'm surprised that people were leaving after Daniels.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to me, especially when you look what's got left on the show. I mean, on paper, the Lethal Lockdown sounds like more exciting, but and then Abyss and Styles. I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, that surprises me. I mean, I like Daniels, obviously, but I don't know if I'd be like, oh, hey, there's still 2 matches to go. I think I'm going to leave at this point.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
That's weird. If it was AJ, I would understand, because he is like the guy.
Right.
But I don't know about Daniels.
Next up here, we have the Lethal Lockdown. It was DDP and Sean Waltman. No longer using the name 6-Pac as he was on TV the week before. So on Impact last week, he was 6-Pac. Now he's Sean Waltman again. And BG James, who subbed for Kevin Nash. They defeated Jeff Jarrett, Monty Brown, and the Outlaw in 15 minutes and 38 seconds of a War Games-like match. He said, this is where the cage overkill really came into play. Now, it started with 5 minutes of Jarrett and Waltman. They spent most of the time outside of the cage doing regular Jarrett brawling in the stand spot, which would be wild, except that he does it at the beginning of every one of his matches.
We've been saying that.
Dude, that's why I was
for
like
2.5 years.
Thank you that someone else is realizing this. He says there's tons of weapon shots, but after what had been done earlier, all the garbage can shots were just numbing stuff. They killed hardcore. He kind of goes through the 2-minute intervals of who came out and all that, but I'm kind of skipping over that. We watched it. We covered it last week. And then basically he doesn't actually like shit on BG subbing Kevin Nash as much as I was expecting, to be honest with you. He really doesn't say anything about it. Anyways, kind of heading to the thing here. So apparently there was a lot of second guessing on Brown being the one to lose the fall, particularly by those who felt Rhodes books this stuff with a deepness of thought, without deepness of thought. The feeling was with Jarrett headlining the next pay-per-view, he shouldn't lose. But the Outlaw had no reason not to lose, since Brown should be the guy that they are grooming. Now instead, Brown came out of the match the coldest that he's been in a long time. Maybe Rhodes has an idea where Jarrett blames Brown for losing, and it sets up a Brown turn. But if not, it's hard to not come up with a reason for the finish. He gives this 1 star.
I absolutely agree with that.
And I actually kind of skipped how the match actually ended. But basically, Waltman was supposed to hit a Rana on Brown for the pin, and he just fell on him. They waited a minute to go back to the same spot, and this time it worked. So, yeah. 1 star.
Yeah, Outlaw should have taken the fall.
Yeah, it was kind of a bummer.
And then if, like Dave said, if the idea is for Jarrett to blame Monty Brown for losing the match, and then he can go and revert back, then it makes sense to, right, I guess, an extent here. But I feel like that's not going to happen, so I don't know.
Yeah. The main event, finally, match number 8. AJ Styles pinned Abyss, 19 minutes, 58 seconds to earn a title shot on the May 15th Hard Justice show. He says, actually, you can make up any time you want because the bell never sounded at the start of the match, which is pretty funny. Styles was in the ring and the cage door was open. He did a running flip dive through the door into Abyss the floor, and it was on. Dave says he can't say enough about Styles' athletic performance here. And he goes through all the really great spots that happened in the match. Abyss went chest first into thumbtacks and all sorts of crazy stuff. Styles climbed to the top of the cage, but Abyss threw the ref into the cage, so Styles crashed himself on top. Abyss climbed up and started choking him with a chain. Abyss tried to throw Styles into the thumbtacks, but Styles reversed and powerbombed Abyss off the top rope into the tacks for the pin. Plenty of this is awesome chants in the last few minutes of the match, and it was. He gives this match 4 1/4 stars.
I mean, yeah, it's the match of the night. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, it was really good. There's some really good stuff.
AJ and Abyss have just a level of chemistry that just makes it fun for them.
Yeah, and I feel like they always have, and they're going to continue to do so. They work very, very well together. Yeah, really good stuff. So that's our coverage of Lockdown, Bob. Very exciting pay-per-view, and we are going to see the effects of what we saw in the next 3 episodes of Impact. I do have one more note I want to talk about before we get into today's show, just because it's a little bit longer form. But then I have a few things we'll talk about during the show, but really not a ton. This week was pretty much talking about Lockdown. So before the April 24th pay-per-view, which is Lockdown. I don't know why he has to write it like that, because it throws me off sometimes. In Orlando, TNA announced to the wrestlers and staff that Frank Dickerson, who is a longtime member of Panda Energy Board, has been hired to run the company as both the Chief Executive Officer and Chief Financial Officer. Now, I've never heard this guy's name before in my life, so that's kind of why I thought this was sort of interesting. So he's been a member of the board of directors for Panda for a while. Which is, of course, TNA's financial backer, Bob Carter, right? So we all know that. Dickerson was a wrestling fan as a child growing up in Georgia, but it is believed to have not really paid any attention to the product for about 40 years. It's just ridiculous. The hiring of Dickerson, combined with Dixie Carter's insistence at the pre-show meeting that the company isn't going anywhere, turned around a lot of people who had thought the company was on its death march. She noted the company had signed a multi-year TV deal with Eurosport and noted that the pay-per-view event would be the company's first in New Zealand. Now, Dave he starts to break some stuff down, which I jump around here, but because it's just a lot. But probably their biggest hurdle, aside from television, is the current talent situation. He notes that 2 key contracts are coming due in the next several months, and that's AJ Styles and Monty Brown. And it is very important that the company does not lose these 2 people. That's what Dave says. Because even with a TV upgrade, the idea of looking minor league is killer. He does say, additionally, in 2005, the idea of putting over any talent on television that isn't locked in a contract is simply foolish. It is well known that Sean Waltman has been talking to Triple H about coming in, and Kevin Nash and Ron Killings, and possibly even B.G. James, have been mentioned as going with him if he chooses to make that move. It's very interesting stuff. And then he says, if they are for the long haul, and we heard the rumors of this, so this isn't like a huge thing, but because I think I mentioned it. But if they do sign Matt Hardy, they have to make sure to make his signing a long-term deal as opposed to like a 5-show deal, because people know who he is, that kind of thing. It makes sense. Which there's not a lot of, we don't have a lot of info on that at this time. He just said one major question short-term involves the NWA title and the booking situation. There was tremendous heat on Dusty Rhodes, but the Lockdown show as a standalone event with the 8 cage matches was well received. And he basically says that he was overly nice to everyone, which was read by people that he was believed to be on thin ice. Dutch Mantel's pushing to get his spot back, but most wrestlers don't see him as an answer. Blah, blah. All the stuff that we've continued to hear here. So it's pretty interesting. And he kind of talks more about some of the stuff too, but it's very long, and I don't think it's all stuff we've kind of talked about. So
I'm just trying to wrap my head around seeing Road Dogg in WWE 2005.
Could you imagine that? Road Dogg, X-Pac, and Kevin Nash.
In 2005. I don't think it would work.
Where do they fit?
They'd have to go on Raw.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's no other place for them really, but
yeah, it's
that'd be weird.
It's kind of weird. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but yeah, Bob, that's what I got here to kick us off. We actually got through a lot of that quicker than I expected, to be honest. So I'm feeling pretty good. We got a couple things we'll talk about during today's show. I don't even know if I have anything good I can tease about it. But we'll talk about some stuff. And then next week's a big one for a lot of reasons, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. So we're on April 29th, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's weird. All right. Are you ready to get into this or what?
Oh yeah, man. I'm very ready to get into this show and see what happens the week after Lockdown. This is an exciting one.
I gotta look this up real quick.
I know what you're gonna look. I know what you're gonna look up, and we're gonna talk about it.
Because I know I was not expecting.
Let's just hit the play button, and you'll see.
Holy shit! Okay.
Yeah.
I want to count down from 3. And when I say play, that's when we're gonna watch Impact, April 29th, 2005. The runtime for this is approximately 44 minutes and 22 seconds. If you want to watch along with us, head over to the Impact Plus app, or if it's in your own personal collection, that should work as well. So here we go. 3, 2, 1, play.
And yeah, so unfortunately, we are getting our In Memory of Chris Candido for it to start the show. And so, Bob, I'm assuming that's kind of what you were thinking about here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Chris Candido passed away the day before. And of course, this is a taped episode. And they're showing pictures of him breaking his leg. They're kind of going over Lockdown in general here. So we're going to talk a lot about this next week.
I kind of figured. So what makes this? So obviously it's a tape show. This would have been taped on what, the Monday or Tuesday?
Tuesday.
So Tuesday after Lockdown. So he passes away on Thursday.
Yeah.
But what makes it weird with this show is they show the in memory, and then they show him having broken his ankle. And now, obviously, the two aren't the reason as to why he passes away. It's acute pneumonia, as you mentioned.
Well, right, but it's interesting because they don't know that at the time, and like I said, we talked about it on Lockdown, right? It's assumed it's a blood clot.
It wasn't even confirmed. It wasn't confirmed for about pneumonia until like what, 2016 or something like that.
Yeah, like dude, way. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, and you're gonna have your mind blown a little bit more as we watch the show. So,
oh God,
you thought that Rick Rude showing up on 2 shows at once was a big deal?
What does that mean?
I mean, coming back from the dead is kind of crazy.
Well, yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah, so we will be talking a lot on next week's show.
You know what? I mean, it's one of the cons of having a tape show.
Right.
You know, that potential. I can't even like a hiccup. I guess I don't know. Like in terms of like storytelling, it could be a little bit of a fiasco, I guess.
And I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt too, a little bit with the showing the injury thing, because do I think they could have edited it? Probably. Do I think they knew his cause of death at that right? Because I don't know if there's a time or anything, but it doesn't matter. But maybe they weren't aware of what his cause of death was yet. Petey Williams coming out here, and it looks like he's fighting Bob's favorite Latin superstar, Shocker, who's wearing the most awful outfit I've ever seen. Leather jacket and matching pants.
Yeah, that's definitely a choice.
Oh, Dusty Rhodes has a blockbuster announcement. It's going to directly affect Hard Justice. Get ready for that, Bob.
This is sounding more and more like an AEW Dynamite episode. I got a huge announcement for next week. I got a a company impact announcement.
Every single week.
And it's like, oh,
Tony Khan has another big announcement.
Yeah, guess what? We're going to England. Or, oh, guess what? I bought Ring of Honor.
Okay, the Ring of Honor one was actually a big announcement, though.
Was it? In hindsight, like, what has he done with it?
Oh, well, yeah, in hindsight, I mean, nothing, but it's, like, kind of cool.
He just has, like, all the footage. Yeah. And he's using it as, like, a developmental, and it's on Honor Club. If you think I'm going to pay to go watch it on Honor Club.
You're not paying to watch it?
Absolutely not. You're not either, so don't even freaking try.
Dang, I was trying to trick you. You're right, I'm not.
Nothing. Get out of here. I
already watched too much, dude. I can't do it anymore.
Well, here's my thing. All your shows, like Dark and Elevation, whatever, are on YouTube. Just put it on freaking YouTube.
Get rid of Dark and Dark Elevation. It's garbage.
Yeah, right. Who cares?
Shocker and Petey are going pretty quick here. Pretty good start here. Look at that sunset flip powerbomb to the floor, but no, Petey stops him. Oh, leg drops him on the apron. Remember, Shocker is our #1 contender. He won that X Division escape.
And now also remember, Shocker has this job because Dusty Rhodes likes the way he bites into a hamburger.
That's so true. We're getting our Lockdown results scrolling across the bottom of the screen. This coming Thursday. A lot of TNA superstars on Blue Collar TV.
Again. Or is that the taping we've seen?
So that's what I don't know, dude. All this is so confusing to me. I don't know if it is.
I feel like it would be what we've already seen.
So do I. Shocker. Big boots to Petey Williams. Off the rope with another one. And now he's doing the shockwave. No, that wasn't the shockwave. I lied. Sorry. Shockwave is a different pin.
That's called the inside cradle.
Dude, the Shockwave pin is literally like a different version of that. So shut up.
Side Canadian leg sweep. 2 count.
That's a 2 count for Petey Williams. He's got so many moves. And don't you forget about the Canadian Destroyer, and he's setting up for it, Bob. He's calling. Let's do it. And no, shocker. What? He kind of countered it, and then, okay, now he's putting a sharpshooter on. It's the best there was, the best there is, and the best there ever will be.
Now, what's funny is up to this point, nobody had won with a sharpshooter since 1999.
Hey, there's our hard justice. No one won with since 1999. That's so funny. Jesus. I'm not going to be surprised if by the end of the show, Bob, we know 90% of our hard justice card, since there's only 3 episodes of Impact leading up to it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
What the fuck?
Roll up. This guy's the master of the roll ups.
That was the oddest finisher. I've never seen someone win like that. Like, just they do that little spin one where he just like covers him. There's no leverage or anything. I think if you're gonna do like a roll up finish, you have to do one where it's like you have good leverage, or you're like pulling the tights, or like,
yeah,
they can't get out of the pin. You know what I mean?
Right.
Hey, Mike Tenay's interviewing him now. You have the opportunity of a lifetime, shocker. Vince fears Raven in the crowd. I don't think he does anymore. Maybe in 2003, but
2003 maybe. Yeah.
Get well, Candido signed. Unfortunately, he did not by now. Okay, Shocker's claiming he's going to be the next X Division champion. And now he's speaking Spanish, which I do not. I think he just said the same thing again, but. Could he do it, Bob? Could he be the new X Division champion at Hard Justice?
He could.
He better come out with a burger then. Show us that star power.
He should turn heel and just throw empty McDonald wrappers to the fans and be like, you guys don't need these anyway. I ate them for you because you're all fat.
I like that. It was billed as the most violent pay-per-view in TNA. Let me give you some juicy stuff here quick, Bob. I'll give you 2 things as they're talking. Apparently, at this point, the company losses. Oh, look, here we go. We're seeing the Candido entry again.
I'm not watching that.
Yeah. Apparently, so at this point, company losses from September of 2002, when Panda took over, through this month, are apparently about $20 million.
We've lost
$20 million. Now, in comparison, he says that Smoky Mountain Wrestling lost a few $100,000 over several years, and ECW's final debt was about $5 million after reorganizing under the HHG name. So that would be probably over 4 years or so. Here comes Buck Quirman.
Yeah, what's funny is Smoky Mountain probably could have kept going, and the Rustlers did want to. But
really,
considering the wrestling landscape of 90, because they ended at the end of 95. The last show I believe was in November. Okay. Their TV went on through December though. But you look at 96. I mean, I don't think that style of Smoky Mountain Wrestling would have lasted much longer than the summer of 96 when like the NWO started. I think that is just, it was just too old school, even for that Tennessee market. And they didn't have the stars. I mean, Fred Armstrong's great and everything, but he's not going to drive you a big house or nothing.
Come on, dude.
I could get into a whole thing about Smoky Mountain. Because, I watched all their TV. There was some things that they did that just like killed crowds and there was definitely some mistakes made in a booking sense, but today this is not the show for that. Buck Quartermain is apparently an X Division wrestler now.
Yeah, he's fighting Sonjay Dutt here, and he's out of the ring now. Slingshot crossbody. Bob, I don't want to call your shit here, but has there been any indie notes yet?
No, there was not.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, I was gonna make note of that. But yeah, it looks like like the next day, a lot of these guys are starting to have bookings, but not coming off of a pay-per-view weekend.
That makes sense. I forgot to do a crowd number. Let me see if I got one. I do. We're full at 750 here for this
you're
taping.
calling me out on my shit. I should be calling you out on your shit.
Yeah, you should. 750 though. It says it's full. That's of course free though. So going for the cover. That's a no. There's no dark matches, no explosion matches, none of that crap as usual.
Ooh, Slapjack by Quartermain.
I do believe that we just heard on commentary during Quartermain's entrance that the Naturals will be facing America's Most Wanted for the tag team titles on today's show.
Oh.
Hurricane Rana from the apprentice of the Hurricane Rana because the master has left.
What if Quartermain pulls us out?
Pretty good. They've pretty much just told us on commentary that Dusty Rhodes' announcement has to do with Jarrett versus Styles at Hard Justice.
Oh, I know what it's gonna be.
Oh, you do? You do know?
Yep. You know what it is?
Yeah, I do.
Steel cage.
That'd be fucking hilarious. We're bringing back Lockdown for Hard Justice, baby.
Yeah. Lockdown is so violent that it just has to continue, baby. And that violence continues at Hard Justice in a steel cage, baby. But guess what, baby? There's not just one cage. There's going to be 3 cages. That's right. We're bringing back the triple tier cage, baby. There's going to be AJ and AJ
it wouldn't
Styles
fit.
in a miniature triple cage match.
It wouldn't fit.
No, it would not. Absolutely not.
I like the idea of it, though, but it's just not meant for it.
Hello. Jeez. Talk about Hard Justice, man.
Oh, my God. Big elbows from Buck Quartermain. He's really getting one over here on Sonjay Dutt.
Quartermain should do the Matt Hardy gimmick where he tries so hard to become a cruiserweight so he can win the cruiserweight title.
Ooh.
And he eventually does, obviously. It's 2003, so I'm not spoiling anything.
I forgot that he did that. Like, they had to, try to do it.
Yeah, he was like, I remember, I don't know if this is exactly what it is, but he was like on a stationary bike, and he was like, yeah, I'm 225. And they're like, no, you're not, Matt. You're like 240. What are you talking about? You have to lose the weight. And he's like I feel like I remember seeing him like on a stationary bike and all these things.
I definitely remember him going on scales.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Slingshot. Hurricane Rana. He got him in a
That was
pin.
nice. That was so that wasn't like the type of Hurricane Rana you would see from Ray where he like spikes him down. He kind of more like slides him down.
Yeah.
I kind of like that though, because then he's able to. It seems like he's able to trap him better.
Yeah, I thought that was nice. We're under commercial, and we're back. Hey, you can go to our website. Mikey Bats.
Oh, Mikey Bat's my favorite. This is
Talking
a
about-
guy who is absolutely not getting the Harry Potter the Harry Potter game. What is it?
Hogwarts Legacy.
Hogwarts. Jeez, my fucking god. Gotham. He's fucking Batman. Hogwarts.
Gotham Knights also very good. Oh, he's fighting the Outlaw.
I love how Nin's appearance here is literally just I'm Billy Gunn.
But without the lips.
Without the lips on the back of my trunks, but I'm pretty much just Billy Gunn.
What else do you want from him?
I don't know, man. I feel like when you like switch companies like that, you got to do something. Now people are gonna be like, dude, Scott Hall didn't do nothing. He was pretty much Razor Ramon. You know what? That's a fair point. But he was also, he had like the outsider's blood drip. Like he had a different look. He didn't have like the Razor Ramon trunks on and boots and shit.
Without the razors.
Right.
Fair point. Mikey Batts versus the Outlaw here. Bell is rung. Slick Johnson's a referee.
You know what he should have done? He should have gotten tights with razors, but like dulled the razors, and he could have been dull Damone.
What the fuck? What the fuck? So we were talking about the website a minute ago because they were talking about replays. Well, this is a pretty fun note here, Bob. It's kind of about the website. It's kind of about merch. So, in contrast to WWE wrestlers, because in the last quarter for the Raw vs. SmackDown video game, a lot of them were getting $35,000 to $90,000 checks because of that. Well,
that's why they love that check. Yeah, that's a huge check for them.
Well, apparently in TNA, no one has received anything from any merchandise. But that's supposed to change because wrestlers were given a letter saying that they will soon be getting merchandise checks for the year 2004, and that because of the delay, the company is going to add 20% to the checks. Supposedly, through TV ads, they're moving 1,000 DVDs per month, which isn't too bad. Guys like Styles, 3 Life Crew, and Team Canada, whose shirts were said to be the most popular in Orlando for some reason, who have had T-shirts done, still haven't received any money from them. So, but we're working on it.
I mean, I'm just curious as to how much merch they really would have moved here.
I don't know. Is Don West selling it yet? Because when he starts selling it, it's moving, baby.
Well, you know what? That's true, but it's also easy to sell. I feel like, $5 DVDs.
Well, fuck yeah, it is. I'm a sucker for $5 DVDs.
Yeah. I do have one indie note during this match. Actually, I think it's the only indie note for the entire show. So thanks a lot for that.
Oh, shit.
Later on this day, April 29th, BJ Whitmer defeated the Outlaw again.
Oh, wow.
IWA Mid-South Revenge served cold in Valparaiso, Indiana. And that match went 11 minutes and 20 seconds as the Outlaw wins here against Mikey Batts.
With it was almost like I'll say it was like a Cobra Clutch slam, kind of.
Yeah, that's I believe in WWE he called it the one and only.
Oh, okay. That looked really good, and then he just kicked Mikey Batts out. And now here's 3 Life Crew, dude.
Here's our Hard Justice match.
They have to, right?
I mean, I would, if I had to guess, it's Outlaw and Conan. Right? I don't think they do Outlaw and BG James.
Wait, BG's got the mic taken out from Conan. He said, yo, Playboy. We tried to say sucker free, but that's hard with you in the equation. Conan says, go ahead and make a move. I'll be all over you like a monkey on a cupcake.
Yeah. What the fuck?
What in the world does that mean? Oh, he slammed the mic into BG's chest. So BG's just left alone now. And he's like, what side do I leave on? Which is like weird. Oh, he's staring down. Outlaw's laughing. Conan and the Outlaw next week.
So not for Hard Justice then, if you're going to do it there.
I like that. Major announcement time. Let's go. Let's go to the TNA conference room, Bob. You ready?
Go try.
Hello, America.
The longest table in American history, right here.
In front of the Hard Justice poster, which just says Jarrett on it. He's announcing her justice. What we have in store for the world, the pay-per-view audience, and the wrestling fans. It's going to be unbelievable. Gauntlet for the gold. 20 man in one ring. Fight for the spot of number one contender. This is not that exciting, Bob. Oh,
So he has two announcements.
to the main event. AJ Styles. Jeff Jarrett. Both men. Okay, we're really dragging this out. Special referee, big news. Man known throughout the sports world. It's Jeff Hammond.
For me, sadly. Johnny Fairplay.
Longest reigning UFC champion of all time.
Ken Shamrock.
Ken Shamrock versus special referee. It happened.
Oh, I know who it is.
Huntington Beach bad boy. Tito Ortiz. Bob, this is huge news. He should turn the volume up on his mic here, but if you ever wanted to buy one, don't let this one slip by, because you should be buying this one.
And then next month, you should definitely be buying this one too.
It's great to be an American. Big news here, Bob. Tito Ortiz.
Well, the UFC tie-in, I guess.
Exactly.
Oh, here comes Jeffrey Jarrett anyway.
My favorite Tito Ortiz wrestling moment is in 2013, the August 1 warning.
Oh my God, I remember that.
I just saw it pop up the other day, and he comes out. Oh my God, Jeff Jarrett is grabbing Mike Tenay and shaking him. Oh my God, what is he doing?
Oh, he's slapping Don.
Oh, he's got a microphone. Yeah, that's my favorite when he comes out and like no one reacts, and Aces and Eights like freaking out, and then they do nothing.
No.
It's my favorite. Tito Ortiz doesn't scare me. He beat 4 to become the champion, not just 1.
Okay. Well, I think this is a good time for me to go pee because I don't really need to listen to Jeff Jarrett cut a promo on.
Oh my God,
guys, he's beaten 5 times. Tito Ortiz, don't scare me.
Talking about the phenomenal one. Doesn't have a chance in hell against the King of the Mountain. He says, I'm no Ken Shamrock. He's going to slap the taste out of Tito Ortiz's mouth. He's walking in the champion at Hard Justice, and he's walking out. Wow. We'll find out May 15th. Big news. The UFC tie-in is super interesting because of the whole rumored Spike deal. We'll be talking about that more soon, though. It's time for the bullet points here, the taglines for the title match here. America's Most Wanted, Fighting Champions. The Candido Factor. Because of the new confidence with the Naturals. Can history repeat itself? Really interesting here. So can history repeat itself? The Naturals won the titles from America's Most Wanted. So pretty interesting stuff here. By the way, we are 25 minutes and 52 seconds into this show. Okay, so Chris Candido is here coming out with the naturals. He's got a cast on his leg from the surgery. And here come America's Most Wanted.
This is perfect timing. I don't have to listen to Jeff Jarrett, and I'm back just in time for the entrances of the main event.
Yeah, well, you just missed one, Bob, and that would be that Chris Candido is, in fact, at the ringside with the naturals.
Was there any kind of disclaimer? I feel like there should be a disclaimer on the screen.
No, there was not.
Aside from the in memory.
No, there was not.
I feel like I wouldn't. Do you think you would? I feel like I would. This match was taped prior to the unfortunate.
I feel like they probably should.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. You do the in memory. Oh, he's got a microphone. You show an injured man some respect. TNA is forcing to relive it again and again. So that's why they keep showing the replay. See? He's standing here with 9 titanium screws and 3 sheets of metal on his ankle. And nothing's going to keep him from this day because his boys, they're going to take the tag team titles. Nothing in the world will make me miss this, guys. I love you guys. He said, give me a chair. Bob, you also missed the taglines where they made a very good point that the Naturals won the tag team titles the first time by defeating America's Most Wanted. So this is quite an interesting match. Now, I think I kind of missed why we're getting a tag team title match here, but I won't complain. I love the Naturals, love America's Most Wanted, love when they fight each other, and I love a nice title match on TV if we can get it. So 30-minute time limit, of course, because it's a title match and it's the main event. James Storm and Chase Stevens kicking us off here. If there's ever 2 teams that know each other, it's these guys.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. 12 seconds.
Laying in some punches on Chase Stevens. Andy Douglas comes in and he gets a hip toss.
And Don making another good reference here that they were involved in the first 6 Sides of Steel match.
Yes, they were. And Harris going right after Andy Douglas. They're fighting up on one of the ramps.
That would be the heel ramp, in case anybody was wondering.
I get mixed up on which side is which.
If you're looking at the ring,
It's the left is the heel
it's
side?
the left. The left is the heel. The right side's the face.
Andy Douglas thrown into the crowd.
Side, basically, if you need even more assistance, the ramp on the same side as the announcer's table is the heel side.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. They do look slightly different as well, but holy shit. Whipping into the guardrails, brawling around the arena. Chris Candido's trying to wave some air on him, get him up. We're in the stands here. Harris and Douglas are in the stands. Trying to throw him down the stairs. Candido. Ah! Storm slammed the hat. Oh, okay. They shouldn't have. That was not good. I mean, it was just a slow motion suplex, but honestly, I don't want to suplex on the stairs either, so I get it.
Yeah. If anything, I feel like a slow motion suplex on the steps is going to hurt more than a fast one.
Well, you might be right about that. Holy shit. Storm, like, he went to, he could have done a bulldog, but he kind of just slammed his head, but Chase Stevens fell so hard he did a front flip when he hit his head. Because he was on the ramp. That was ridiculous. Rudy Charles needs to get this shit together here.
Dallas, are you going into this match thinking the Naturals have a chance to win?
No. Not even a little bit.
Douglas gets catapulted into the railing from underneath. Stevens is sloppily thrown into the guard railing by Storm. This just screams like Lance Hoyt's going to come out and attack one of the Naturals or something.
See, that's a great point. So, yeah, like, why would I think that they're going to win?
They haven't even gone in the ring yet.
No, not really. We started there briefly, but
the bell hasn't even. Has the bell sounded?
Yes, yeah, it did because they started in the ring.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And oh my God, that fan was holding up the chair, and James Storm whipped Chase Stevens into it.
Is Chase busted open?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't see.
Not on FSN.
Oh no, there's no way. There's no way. He's going for a suplex on the floor, but we're about to go to commercial.
So let's cut away from that.
Oh my God, we're back, and Chris Candido is choking Storm. We are in the ring now. And I feel like we just brawled like that because they wanted Candido to cut like that promo, so they couldn't like do it right from the get-go. So they were like, okay, we'll start it and then do it.
Yeah, in case you're wondering, Chase Stevens is in fact not bleeding.
Okay.
Douglas runs into a boot from Storm in the corner. And Jawbreaker. Harris going to the top rope. Double axe handle. He decks Stevens off the apron. Backdrop. Bam. See ya. Tommy drop. Leaping clothesline.
Look how the way they're doing the results at the bottom, I just happen to notice. Some of them say they defeated, some say they beat, and others ones are like Jeff Hardy over Raven, which is like kind of interesting. Usually they don't say it like that.
Well, do you want to be like? I could understand you don't want to be super repetitive.
Yeah.
Make it stand out.
Ooh, back chop to the lower back, high knee by Andy Douglas onto Harris. No, so also next week, Tanay's going to talk to both Styles and Jeff Jarrett, as well as that Outlaw versus Conan match, which has got me kind of intrigued. So I'm actually looking forward to that. Whoa.
You're looking forward to Conan and Outlaw?
Because of the story. At the bottom of the screen, it just said, House of Fun, Raven versus Jeff Hardy at Hard Justice. So we're getting a rematch, and they're going to do a freaking Clockwork Orange match.
Huh.
Holy shit. Good thing they told us that. Why do they do that? Just give us something, an interview or something.
Yeah. Because like I don't pay attention to the scroll. I just figure
I barely do.
Results,
I barely do.
Yeah.
Man. Well, that's kind of interesting. I wonder why they're. My gut. I'm going to just say my prediction now. My gut says that's to get Raven over Hardy, and then Hardy might not see a lot more of in the featured role. That's my theory.
Really?
I'm surprised that he beat Raven at Lockdown.
I think Raven is such in a bad spot backstage that even if Jeff Hardy was late to every single show, he'd still beat Raven.
Oh my god.
For some reason, I've always felt that TNA, and by TNA I mean Jarrett, did not want Raven to get over as a main event guy. I don't know why.
And like probably because I bet you it's got to do something with how hot he was when he came in, and they were like, nope.
That's what I was thinking. Like 2003 Raven, like he was fucking...
Dude, he was on fire.
Yeah. And I just feel like they were like, nope, chop him off at the legs.
I think so too.
And to an extent, for a little while after, Raven like overcame that.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually he just became another guy.
Yeah, it kind of sucks. Nice camel clutch here in on Harris, but a nice elbow shot by Stevens to Harris broke that one off. Candido getting in the face, yelling. I was just going to make a take here that I don't know if it's actually accurate. But so I don't know if the last time I watched Hard Justice 2005, I don't really remember any.
I don't know if I've ever watched that full show.
So, but to me, this is my hot TNA take of the day. Okay, I feel like Hard Justice is a throwaway pay-per-view for TNA. It's not one I ever think about. It's just like there for me. Maybe I'm wrong about that in the future, but like I just cannot think of any like, oh yeah, Hard Justice, like that was good. It doesn't stand out. The name doesn't. It just to me, it's just there.
You know, so it's funny you say that because I feel like the first match between two big names in TNA happens at Hard Justice.
Well, so that just, like I said, might just be me. Because I just, to me, Hard Justice, I don't like the name, really. It's like, okay. I think that's like the weakest pay-per-view name they have up until this point, especially.
I'm going to look this up real quick to see if I'm right or not.
Ooh, nice little, not really a low blow, but he put his knee up and Andy Douglas landed on the knee as we're back from commercial break. 15-minute time, or about 14:46 left in the match, but in our show there's 5:50 left, so.
Okay, so I'm wrong.
Oh.
For what I was thinking here.
Now there's a couple like this. We'll just now it's announced the Tito Ortiz thing. I know was a Hard Justice thing. I mean that's kind of a big deal, so I get that. I think there's also another thing that happens at Hard Justice, but I don't remember if it's 2006 or not.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, here's an article: Top 5 Hard Justice moments in Impact Wrestling history.
Get out of here! There's an article.
Yeah, not for me. So don't put that on me.
James Storm on fire in the ring here.
Let's see here. Obviously, 2005 is on here. Okay. That means nothing to me. Okay. Well. Yeah, I don't know, dude. I think you're right. I think Hard Justice might be one of the weaker.
Okay, so the one thing I was thinking about does happen in 2006.
Okay, that's the one I just saw. But that's not really. That's like not a match that you.
No, that's what I mean. That's what's like really funny to me about it. It's like why is like that's what it's famous for? It looks like the death sentence just got broken up. I was looking at this thing, and Inseguri on to Chase Stevens.
And also for context here, so Hard Justice obviously taking place in May here, and I believe in the future it's August.
Okay, they do shift that one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
There's a few that after this year switch. Douglas trying to use the title, but Rudy Charles says no. Super kick. Wait. Oh shit! Chase Stevens had a chair and he hit James Storm and a spear to Chase Stevens. Dude, this is getting nuts. These two teams are freaking awesome together. Look at this. Candido getting in the ring, and he just rolled Douglas on holy shit, on the James Storm, and they get the pin. We have new tag team champions.
That's awesome.
Fuck yeah. Yo, the Naturals.
That's a major upset. Even with like Candido helping cheat and stuff, that's a huge upset.
They're holding the titles laughing.
Candido is so good at what he does.
Yeah, so it really sucks, man. I think honestly, at least as far as like a full like little run, this is probably the most Candido I've watched, especially at one time here in TNA that we've been watching. And
you saw him on Icopod with the
yeah,
which was like 8 months worth of stuff.
Was it that long? Okay, maybe I'm wrong then. I did not like that though.
Because he was there through SummerSlam.
That's nuts. That's really nuts. Well, anyways,
but we didn't see him on a weekly basis even on that show.
But the stuff in TNA, like, it's awesome. It made me.
He's got a crazy look. He's like, "Yeah, we did it." And he's like, he celebrates. He's like, "Oh, my foot."
But yeah, it's just really disappointing because I feel like this has been like, damn, like he's pretty fucking good, and unfortunately, he got beat down here at the end of the match. Unfortunately, this is his. I mean, this is it. It sucks.
Yeah. Well, we shouldn't say this is it because there's still 2 episodes that he might appear on.
Oh, I guess that's a good
Tuesday and Wednesday. If it's a Tuesday,
that's a good point. I don't know if he does though, but that's a really good point. Oh, Tanae's yelling at. He's like, "You can say whatever you want, but I got the brains, I got the experience." Even injured, with 97 screws in his leg. He proved that his boys are even better any day of the week. Give him an AMW a return match. Are you the matchmaker, Mike, tonight? You're an announcer. Go announce. We're going to celebrate. I thought he was going to kiss him on the lips right there.
I thought so, too. Did Chase Stevens just say, "Who won"?
I don't know. Did he? And then Andy Douglas says, "Naturally, we won."
Yeah. I love how like TNA's first thing was like, you guys should give AMW a return match. Like that's the first thing they're gonna do after winning the tag titles. Yeah, of course. Yeah, AMW.
Yeah, no problem.
Get your rightful belts back. Okay, so now they close it off with another like little in memoriam thing too, which I think is if you missed it at the start, like if you didn't see that at the start, you'll see it at the end. So then you're aware, like, oh hey, Candido tragically passed away. So that kind of adds some context to there. So I think that's a pretty solid move there.
Bob, I was so into that show. I had 2 more notes that I didn't even say.
Okay. Well, you know what? To be fair, though, there wasn't really video packages to even do it.
And that last match was really good. So yeah. I was very distracted by the match. These are 2 very quick ones, and then we can discuss the show briefly. They did announce the schedule through the end of July with tapings on July 5th and July 19th, and the pay-per-view on July 17th. So while announcing dates isn't necessarily significant or anything, it does signify that they've at least renewed the deal with Universal to do its tapings there, with the belief that it will be for another 6 months. And then the final one, which is kind of going to affect really the rest of the taping that we're going to be watching. So apparently the future of Dustin Rhodes is in question. There was some sort of altercation that led him to missing television. We'll actually be discussing that more. I don't know if it's next week or if it's in 2 weeks, but we will talk about that more as well. But yeah, so that was all the notes for this show. What do you think about that episode, Bob?
I thought that was really good.
I think it was awesome. Thumbs up for me, for sure. I think it was very well done, really well paced. I know Bob's laughing at me. I'm excited to see Conan and the Outlaw, but I'm excited to see it because like something's going on with BG James, man. Something's going on, and I want to know what's going to happen. So I'm curious for that regard of it.
Yeah, I'm just surprised that you're actually invested in the Conan storyline.
Well, I think now that they're doing it in front of the crowd, and it's not just like a backstage, like confronting and be like, "Yo, what are you talking about?" Like it makes it a lot more interesting. So that's certainly helping the situation. But yeah, man, we got 2 more episodes, and it's hard justice. We already know 3 matches now. We know we have a huge special referee with Tito Ortiz, the gauntlet for the gold for the next #1 contender, and this the House of Fun match between Raven and Jeff Hardy. So, and potentially a rematch between the Naturals and America's Most Wanted. I'd have to assume is going to happen at the pay-per-view.
Right.
But yeah, I thought that was great. I'm definitely excited about next week's show. We have lots to talk about. We're going to talk a lot about Candido, which is unfortunate. But then there's other stuff that's exciting for more exciting news. Yeah, it depends if you think it's exciting, I guess. So we'll talk about Candido. We talk about some other things that are going on backstage. Next few weeks, Bob, we got a lot of stuff going on, but I think it's going to be a really good time here on the TNA Cross the Line podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to Hard Justice, a show that I don't know if I've even ever watched that whole show in my whole life. So, and then also, we're reaching a point in time here in Impact history where it's like online exclusive for like 3 months. So a lot of that I've never seen either. So.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting, and we've talked about it before, but we got a few weeks left before this happens. But we're going to have a time where we don't got no shows to watch, so
Right.
we're going to figure out what we're going to do. We haven't fully decided yet, but we will figure something out, and it's definitely going to be interesting.
Yeah, the summer of 2005 for TNA is certainly going to be a period of time that will change the direction for the growth of TNA. So it'll be very interesting to see just how the company changes over the next several months. But in order for us to reach that time, we have to wrap up this episode. So until next week, for Dallas Gridley, I am Bob Colling Jr., and this has been the TNA Cross the Line podcast.